Welcome and thank you for tuning into the 412 Double Play podcast. The Pittsburgh Pirates go 3-3 on the week, but just can't seem to get out of their own way, blundering leads in each of those losses. But we will have draft signings, trade reactions, recap discussions to break down this week. I am, as always, your host, Michael Castriano. Back with me this week, my co-host, Ed Wassel. Ed, tough stretch of games. Team is hanging in there, still above 500, still in the playoff hunt. But what is your overall vibe after this recent stretch of games?
I mean, it sucks that we blew leads in all of those games, but they're also hanging with some really good teams. So there is some positive to it.
We said it a couple weeks ago, coming out of the All-Star break, they had one of the toughest schedules. I think they're still like 7th or 8th hardest remaining strength of schedule in MLB. So it's just a grind. And Arizona, they repeated it so many times in the broadcast this weekend, number one offense in MLB. They just hit, and they kept hitting against us, unfortunately. We got a lot to cover, so I'm going to go ahead and jump into our transaction schedule or transaction section, and we're going to group in the trades there, but we're going to start with the transactions themselves because there's a bunch of moves this week. We'll dissect each trade afterwards. On the 29th, option Jack Sawinski down to Indy, activated Bailey Falter ahead of his start against the Astros. On the 30th, Carmen Mlodzinski hit the IL with right shoulder soreness or discomfort. The team DFA'd Ryder Ryan, activated pitcher Jake Woodford to make a start in Houston. Ryder Ryan later cleared waivers, was outrighted to Indy. Also, Joshua Palacios hit the 10-day IL with a pulled hamstring suffered during the Astros series. And then finally, Alika Williams, who was only brought up last Sunday. I'm not sure if he even started. He got like pinch running, maybe a couple defensive substitutions in there, but he was sent back to Indy on Saturday. But I think the main thing, Mlodzinski and Palacios both hitting the IL in the same week. What is the impact on these, and which one is more impactful in your mind?
To me, the one that's more impactful is Mlodzinski because, I mean, Holderman's been struggling a lot lately, and Mlodzinski could be one of those high leverage innings pitchers, and right now he's not available, so that they're gonna keep throwing Holderman out there.
Yeah, you definitely have to hope that Mlodzinski's able to come back soon because, as you mentioned, Holderman did not have the best week. All three of those losses, actually, I believe, were directly attributed. Yeah, I mean, he got the loss in each of those games. He came into this week, I think, 3-1, and now he's 3-4. Mlodzinski was having a really good stretch after he came off. After he came up from Indy earlier in the season, he had one or two rough outings, but he's just been nails since then. Really great piece of that bullpen, which has been like very fragile lately. But they had some additions to it this week, at least one addition and one subtraction, because we're going to go ahead and jump into the trades. And I know we're the last, dog to the food bowl right now because all the trades happened like Tuesday last week. But we're going to give our thoughts anyway. So the first one that I want to talk about, Quinn Priester, really liked him. His slider's very good. First round pick in 2019, the last first round pick of the Huntington draft. Traded to Boston for their 2020 first round pick, Nick York. Ed, Quinn Priester, he wasn't having the best season. He had a 6+ ERA with the Pirates. Also wasn't doing great last year. Had kind of moved into a long relief role. York has some upside, has some swing and miss, but what are your thoughts on that trade?
When it first came across, I thought, and I still do, that they kind of gave up on Priester a little early. I know he struggled. He's still young. Just, what is he, 2 or 3 years removed from being named like the best pitcher in the entire organization?
Yes.
It's like, obviously this stuff was there. I don't know what the command is. The fastball is just too flat. I don't really know. But
he's got the sinker. He's occasionally, I think he mixed in the cutter. His curve's pretty good. His slider's really good. But it's just getting the other pitches to set up the slider, and he hasn't been able to get to that step. A lot of people have made the comparison of, oh, if this was 5 years ago, it's Mitch Keller, because Mitch Keller came up, had great stuff, just couldn't, was struggling. And the velocity wasn't, with Keller, wasn't all that great. It was 94, 95 when he first came up, and he was just getting hammered. But they don't have the opportunity now, the benefit of being able to suck and let him work through that. So for him to go to another organization that maybe needs the pitching, give him a chance, and hopefully he can flourish there.
Yeah, and it kind of sucks because he was very successful every time he was sent down to AAA. So it's not even like, oh, send him down there and he can work on it. Well, whatever he was doing was working at AAA. So
he's too good for AAA. He's not going to learn anything there. He has to get the experience in major leagues and get either figure things out or flame out. And I hope he figures things out. I wish him all the best.
Like you said, where the Pirates are right now, sadly, you can't just keep throwing him out there to figure it out.
Yeah. So happy trails. Hopefully things work out. Nick York had a really good week. I'm going to talk about him when we talk about Down on the Farm, I believe. Another one who a minor league swap with Baltimore. We sent out pitcher Patrick Riley for outfielder Billy Cook. Little surprising, but if we're going to deal from depth, we certainly have a dearth of minor league pitching. And Billy Cook, AAA outfielder, he's got some high upside. Your thoughts on this? Do you think it's basically just sending out a strength for filling a weakness?
Yeah, I would say so. Said the system's loaded with pitchers, so you're going to have to start moving some if you want to get some bats back.
Yeah. Billy Cook, not on the 40-man. I think he might be Rule 5 this upcoming offseason. I'll have to check the list from Ethan. But someone to keep an eye on. Like York, he had a good week in Indy. Next one, we dumped Martin Perez and his contract to San Diego for DSL Southpaw Ronaldus Jimenez. Now, reportedly, the Pirates were really high on Jimenez and were willing to eat the entirety or the near entirety of the Perez salary in order to get Jimenez.
Yeah, so they didn't dump his contract at all.
They just dumped the player.
They just dumped the player.
Yes. Again, there was some money that the Padres are going to have to pay just to have Perez on the roster, I'm assuming. But the Pirates are very high on Jimenez. I know being in the DSL, he's so far away that it's going to be a long time before we hear about him. But just getting something back, getting Perez, he was statistically the worst starting pitcher in baseball. He just was not getting outs, was not avoiding the bat in any capacity. So, but he was a great clubhouse guy. Everybody had positive things to say about him. Appreciate what he did, especially early on in the season when the pitching wasn't doing so great. So hopefully he does well in San Diego, but not if he faces us in the upcoming 2 series against them. Last two, I'm going to go ahead and group these two together because we picked up 2 left-handed relievers. We acquired Jalen Beeks, a southpaw from Colorado. We shipped out left-handed pitcher Luis Peralta. He was previously a starter, was in relief in Greensboro, but he is the younger brother of Freddie Peralta of the Brewers and has some really serious control issues that probably won't get fixed in Colorado, but trading a lefty minor leaguer for a lefty reliever who's had some success in the past, was previously part of the Tampa Bay Rays bullpen, did well there. We also got Josh Walker from the Mets for minor league lefty Nicholas Carino. I think he was in the DSL as well. He's 18 or 19, really far away. Walker was previously DFA'd from the Mets and went to Indianapolis. The Walker move, I don't think moves the needle in any way right now. That seems like strictly depth and not expected to play a part in the bullpen unless absolutely needed. But Beeks, did you have any feeling either way on him coming into the organization? He's been pitching in Colorado. He's probably happy to get out of there, even though he statistically did better at home than away for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really have any thoughts one way or the other when I first saw it that he pitched in what 2 or 3 games since being acquired and pitched pretty well. So
Yeah, he's come into some tough situations, especially the Saturday game, which bases loaded, no outs, and managed to. I mean, he did allow 1 run on a bases loaded walk, but you really kind of expect it's going to go worse than that in a situation like that. So, interested to see how he's utilized. If he's just going to be like matchups, or if he will be a late inning guy, as I think he was the closer or the setup guy in Colorado. Kind of switch between that. And then Walker, again, we'll see on that.
yeah,
But the 2 big trades for the week: shipped Charles McAdoo to Toronto for Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, which I'm happy that we got IKF. I was so upset at the time that we had to send out McAdoo to make it happen, because he is like our only minor leaguer position player who has been thriving. And I know it's like a sell high because he was like a 13th round pick and is just like soaring through the system. But it's like, you guys can't hang your hat on any success stories, draft development, pushing to the major league and having a good career. Maybe Nick Gonzalez, he's injured now, and I don't know. McAdoo for IKF. Was this a win, a loss, or a draw?
I think it's too early to tell right now. You said McAdoo was absolutely lighting it up.
They're all too early to tell, especially when you're trading prospects. But in face value, saying, okay, McAdoo was, I mean, they didn't re-rank the system, but he was probably going to be top 10 if he stayed with the Pirates till the end of the year when they re-ranked.
Well, going off of your theory of you don't know, they're all future issues. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you win every trade when you trade a prospect away for a major league player.
All right, there we go. That's what we want to hear. Well, the thing is, I saw something last week, and I don't remember where I saw it, so I can't give credit to it. And I don't know the validity of it, but like 95+% of prospects shipped out at the trade deadline do not make the major leagues.
Yeah, I believe it.
Like, so, which is like, okay, always trade prospects at the trade deadline, but a lot of them are these DSL guys who are so far away that it is a lottery ticket. And some of them are kind of rising through the system. McAdoo, I think, was at AA. He just got to AA recently. The Bucks on Deck with Murph and Nola last week were talking about, and they obviously watch the minor league games much more closely than I do, that his swing and miss and strikeout rate went up a little bit. And perhaps that was a sign of things to come, but who knows? The other big trade last week, we got Brian De La Cruz from the Marlins for pitcher Jun-Suk Shim and utility player Garrett Forrester. So Shim and Forrester were like our 16th and 17th ranked prospects. Shim, to this point, still has only pitched 8 innings since being signed a year and a half ago. And Forrester was doing okay. I don't think he really had a position. He's been catcher, first base, outfield. He's kind of a Kiner-Falefa situation there where he's bouncing around. And then De La Cruz, it kind of is what he is. Maybe he's like a better version of Olivares, or better than what we got from Olivares. And I'm sure this isn't the outfielder or position player in general who you wanted us to trade from the Marlins. But De La Cruz, small sample size. He's had a couple hits. He's had a couple, like he made the last out in the game today, but it fills a need. We need somebody who can hit and play the outfield, and he doesn't play it well, but he can hit. He hits home runs. He's got 18 on the year. And
Yeah,
Marlins Park, whatever it's called, Lone Depot, is a big park. So adding IKF and De La Cruz, do they meaningfully improve the team in your mind? Even incrementally, do they improve the team?
I think so.
Did they do enough?
They didn't do as much as I wanted.
Well, they
I
never.
wanted
I mean,
a bigger splash move than that, but yeah,
yeah,
obviously.
yeah. It's definitely not. It's not anything flashy. De La Cruz is someone who made sense, and I had heard reports that they were connected to him. Not Taylor Ward. Taylor Ward's really been struggling, but also not someone like Brent Rooker, who you would kind of, I think the entirety of the fan base has heard of and would be overjoyed because he's like top 10 in most offensive stats, but didn't seem like Oakland was willing to sell. I think they addressed the needs that
they weren't moving him.
No, I think they addressed the needs that they felt they needed to, given that they have their eyes on 2025. If they can make the postseason in this year with the pitching that they have, they are obviously going to push for it. But I think this offseason, they're really going to gear up the offense and make probably not super splashy signings, but some more meaningful moves to shore that up.
Yeah, they were able to make moves at the deadline without sacrificing the future. So,
right.
In a season that you're kind of hoping to make the playoffs, like you said, like it'd be different if they were leading the division and they were, 7 games up, and they still needed one more bat.
And yeah, and like had a hole at first base or third base or shortstop, like something where it's like, okay, we need to have someone here.
Right.
They don't have, they have some glaring holes, like third base hasn't given a lot of production. Outfield, obviously, but they got Olivares. Catcher hasn't been great, but Grandal miraculously has been hitting in his last couple games. Bart's been doing really well. Rowdy is still hitting well. At first, I mean, the offense showed up this past week, so I'm going to go ahead and use that as a segue into our weekly recap, because after that last Diamondback series in Arizona, we headed to Houston with Paul Skeens on the bump. We got a bit of a bait and switch with the Astros. They announced their starter as Jake Bloss, and then he was scratched, and it became a bullpen game for the Astros. Bloss was later traded to Toronto. Skeens had a Skeens start. He had some shaky control. Only allowed 2 runs, 1 earned, both coming off a bases loaded error by Ke'Bryan Hayes. Skeens went 6 frames, 5 hits, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts against a very good Houston offense. Yasmani Grandal, mentioned he's got that offense going lately. He had a solo home run in the 6th. O'Neal Cruz, RBI double in the 8th to tie, but the fireworks came in the 9th when Michael A. Taylor, 2-out, 3-run shot to push the Pirates to an eventual 5-3 win. Injuries, Joshua Palacios, he pulled his hamstring in the 5th inning. Would land on the IL for that. G1 Bay landed awkwardly trying to avoid a tag at first base in the 6th, kind of on I think it was a swinging bunt. And he injured his knee. Both left the game. Bay turned out to be fine. I don't know if it was hyperextended or what, but he ended up pinch running in the next game. Game 2, Bailey Falter returns from the IL. Ton of hard contact, mostly right at Pirates fielders. He got enough whiffs to make it work. 5.1 frames, 6 hits, 2 runs, only 1 earned, 0 walks, 3 strikeouts. Runs scored early were off some small ball infield hits, misplays by the Astros. They came in as one of the best defensive teams in the league, and they just kind of handed us the game. Michael A. Taylor broke it open with a 6th inning 2-run home run, knocked Houston starter Hunter Brown out of the game, and our bullpen managed to lock it down from there, taking a 6-2 win. And in the final game, looking for the sweep, Jake Woodford going against Framber Valdez. Woodford had a surprisingly great start. 5 innings, 2 hits, no walks, 3 strikeouts, 3 unearned runs due to some poor fielding by O'Neill Cruz. I'll talk about that in a second. Bucks put up a 4 spot against Valdez in the second, punctuated by a Joey Bart 2-run blast, but the bats fell silent after that. Colton Holderman, going to be hearing his name a couple times here, coming on with 1 on, 2 out in the 6th, gave up a first pitch home run to Mauricio Dubon as the Astros would win 5-4. Hitting coach Andy Haynes was ejected 3 pitches into the game after arguing with home plate umpire on some low strikes calls to Kutch. And Cruz had a throwing error that led to a run and then tried to make up for it. I don't know if it was the next inning or 2 innings later. He cut off Reynolds in shallow left field trying to make a catch, missed it, and then threw the ball home and missed Bart at home. And that just led to several errors, or several runs scoring. Overall, 5 errors in the series for Cruz, leading to some online consternation from the fan base regarding Cruz and his role with the team. Back home to face the Diamondbacks again, and man, that offense. They jumped on Luis Ortiz in game 1, leadoff triple by Corbin Carroll that scored on another Cruz error, and then 3 straight home runs. But they jumped out to a 5-run lead, but the Bucks battled back. 1 run in the 4th, 2 more in the 5th, another in the 6th after Arizona added on another. The Pirates batted around, and they were playing some gritty ball. They eventually took a 7-6 lead off a Kutch slide home just under the catcher tag. Short-lived, unfortunately, as Josh Bell hit a 2-out, 0-2, 103-mile-per-hour heater from Aroldis Chapman out of the park. It was his second of the night. It was also the hardest, the highest velocity pitch hit for a home run in StatCast era. And probably in any era because it's 103. Let's be real here. So that tied the game, and then an 8th inning RBI double by Geraldo Perdomo off Holderman gave them the lead. They added on with Ketel Marte first pitch homer in the 9th, also his second of the game. Cruz reached on his 5th hit of the game in the bottom of the frame, stole second, came around to score on a Tellez bloop single, but the team fell short, getting the tying run across, dropping the opener 9-8. Game 2, Mitch Keller dealing 4 innings, 1 hit, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, and then the rain came in, and it became a bullpen game for both sides. Bucks broke up a 1-1 tie in the 6th with a 2-run shot by Reynolds. The team added on Bart RBI single after hitting a solo shot earlier in the game en route to a 4-2 Pirates win. The rain delay lasted an hour and 8 minutes, and Kutch left the game with left quad tightness after hitting a single leading off the 6th inning. It was advised afterwards that this was just precautionary. And then finally today, Sunday, looking to get the series win, Skeens facing off against Ryan Nelson. The Bucks jumped on Nelson early, notching 4 runs in the first 2 innings, but the offense shut down after that. Skeens had some struggles again, second start in a row, starting to get a little concerning. 5.1 innings, 5 hits, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts. He had left with a 4-1 lead with 2 runners on, one of whom scored. So technically 2 earned runs in this start. But Holderman came on in the 7th. He walked 2, got 2 outs, and then allowed a 1-2 go-ahead home run by Jock Peterson. D-backs added on with another Ketel Marte solo shot in the 9th. He just hits bombs. Pirates came close to coming back as Reynolds got an RBI single bottom of the inning, but a Cruz strikeout and De La Cruz flyout ended the chances of victory and a narrow 6-5 loss. Ed, again, pretty clear now in retrospect who the Pirates villain is for this week. If you're looking at someone else's team, not our own.
There's potentially 2 villains there, but
Ketel Marte is the villain. But the internal one, Holderman has had some real struggles, given up runs in I think each of his last 6 appearances, something like that. Like he's just been consistently not getting the job done. But is it all his fault, or is it on Shelton's decisions? Because he had Beeks warming when Jock Peterson came up, lefty on lefty matchup. Maybe they pinch hit for him, maybe they don't. And he also had IKF attempt to bunt with runners on first and second and no outs in the ninth inning. He ended up bunting it right to the pitcher, like a pop out to the pitcher. Who's more to blame for this series going the way that it did?
I have a hard time not blaming Holderman. I mean, you can try to blame Shelton for that all you want, but Holderman still has to make his pitches.
He still has to make his pitches. And you're trusting him. You're saying, okay, you came into the season as our seventh inning guy. Sometimes eighth, sometimes ninth. If Chapman and Bednar weren't available, that's, Holderman realistically could be in that position, especially with Majinski on the shelf. And he's just not getting it done. The pitch today that Peterson hit for that home run, it was like outside corner. It was maybe like middle of the zone, but it wasn't a meatball. The one to Dubon the other day was kind of up and in, but it was a fastball, and Dubon is a real swing happy hitter. It was not, you didn't have to give him anything close early. You could have started him off with like a slider or something. And then either the double by Perdomo, who is their ninth hitter in the order. But I think he had 4 hits in that game. Like Perdomo crushed us this weekend. Marte crushed us. Bell in game 1 at least was hammering us. But again, if you look at the run differential, we kind of broke even. We lost, each of our losses were by 1 run, and our win was by 2 runs. So, it's a split series.
So you're able to hang with one of the best offenses in the league. So yeah.
And the thing is, we scored a ton of runs. 8 runs in the first game, 4 runs in the second game, and then 5 runs today. Think about early on in the season when we were scoring 0 or 1 run. We had a stretch where if we scored 4 or more runs, we were guaranteed to win the game. I wish that was still the case because we would have had a lot more wins lately. But the bats are starting to heat up.
That's a really weird. Would you rather lose 8-1 or 8-7?
Oh man,
because a loss is a loss. You know what I mean?
I know, and that's the thing. At the end of the season, and everybody's saying it at the end of the season, you're going to look back and be like, oh, that was a close game that we lost. It's yeah, but there's a lot of other teams that we faced who are going to look back at the end of the season saying, oh, we gave that one. Like the Astros game 2, last what was it, Tuesday? They handed us the win because they were not making the plays, and the infield dirt at Minute Maid Park, the whole field. I don't know how these guys have been to 7 straight ALCS because the field looks like they have no money. It's just disgusting. That Hayes error was because he got stuck in the dirt. Cruz, I think, had a couple times where he either rushed his throw because he didn't want to get stuck or tried to hang on too long and ended up getting stuck. It's just weird. Astros, pick your field. I know you're listening. I'm sure you're listening.
Oh, yeah, they're definitely listening.
Yeah. That's what they do in their free time, listen to Pirates podcast. So, but again, these are series that you want to win. These are also series against very good teams. The Astros have a great offense. We weren't able to get the sweep because we kind of bungled it at the end. The Diamondbacks have a great offense. We managed to score runs because their pitching's not good, and our offense is starting to improve. But they're also going to score runs because they're a good hitting team, and good hitting team is going to beat good pitching. Or bad pitching, as was the case in those later innings. It's tough. It's tough. I don't know. It's heartbreaking, but I mean, I think that gives you more hope because I feel like in the 2021 and 22 seasons, we had a lot of games where we were losing. What was that one Cubs game? We lost 22-4.
It was really bad. I don't remember what it was, but it was really bad.
It was awful. And then you look at that and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, this makes me never want to watch baseball again. You have games like this and you're like, you know what? We hung with a great offensive team and it sucks that we fell short. But okay, next time, we're not facing the Diamondbacks again, but next time we're in that situation, we're going to push across another run. We're going to make the pitch that gets the guy out, gets him to swing and miss instead of swing and hit it over the fence.
Once
I
again,
mean,
though,
that's
how much
baseball.
more upset would you be if you lost 24-23 instead of 24-3?
Stop it. I'm not going to speculate on that because holy cow, how bad is your pitching?
I would never watch it again. What do you mean? How bad is your pitching? Obviously, they gave up the 24 runs regardless.
I know both sides are so bad. There's got to be a bunch of position players. All right, we're going off on a tangent here. Let's go ahead and shoot down on the farm because had some interesting stuff. Indy hosting the Toledo Mud Hens. Indians split the series against Toledo. New acquisition, Billy Cook. He went 5 for 9 with 3 doubles and a home run. York, I think, had 2 doubles on the week, while Jose Rojas, whose name I have not heard of until this past week, he hit his 20th home run of the year for the Indians. Indy moves to a 49-55 record. Altoona hosting the Richmond Flying Squirrels. Altoona won 4 of 6 against the visiting Rodents. Sammy Siani is heating up, hitting 474, 524, 684 this week, while Bubba Chandler tossed another gem. 7 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, no walks, and 7 strikeouts. Going to mention something about him in a second. The curve jumped to 44-58 this season. Greensboro at the Winston-Salem Dash. Hoppers dropped 4 of 6 to the Dash. Josiah Seitler posted a 1.434 OPS over his 17 plate appearances, while PJ Hilson led the team in hits, knocking 10 in his 23 at-bats on the week. The Hoppers dropped to 59-42 record. Bradenton at Palm Beach Cardinals. Rough week in Florida as the Marauders dropped 5 of 6 against Palm Beach. The only real bright spot was Javier Rivas, who I've mentioned before, as he blasted 2 home runs and batted .357 on the week for Bradenton. The Marauders are now 41-61 on the year. Some promotions this week. Top pitching prospect, Bubba Chandler, and Thomas Harrington, another top pitching prospect, both promoted from Altoona to Indy. Harrington made his debut at Indy, and it didn't go great, but it's awesome to see because they are right there, and those are 2 excellent arms. I don't know what other prospects really are in line for promotion. Like you could say Termar Johnson, but he's been a little bit inconsistent. At some point, he's got to get pushed up. But any thoughts on the farm system and what's been going on there? It's kind of a mixed bag.
How did we have a
overall
20 home run hitter that we failed to mention at all?
I don't know. He's hit home runs, but then he'll be batting sub 200. I honestly, he's got a 900. I was just looking at him before we started recording. He's got a 900 plus OPS. And I was like, where did this guy come from? Because most of the time, look behind the curtain. When I am highlighting players from the past week, I typically look at top prospects, young guys. I don't know if Rojas is. He's born in 93. So no, he's not. He's 30. He's 31. He's a 31 left-handed hitter. Yeah, but he has 20 home runs for Indy this year. He's batting .244.
Bull Durham.
Bull Durham, indeed. So yeah, love that Chandler got the promotion. Harrington, the overdue. So good. And Harrington, you think about what this rotation could look like mid-season next year. Skeens, Keller, Jones, Harrington, Chandler, Burrows is actively pitching with Indians. Braxton Ashcraft is going to be in that mix potentially. There's a lot of really good pitching right at the top there.
Yeah, it's nice that the 2 you just mentioned are going to get not quite half a season, but a good chunk of the season up in AAA this year.
They've got about 2 months, because they go to the end of September now, I believe. Whereas they used to, end of August was the end of their season. Now it's a little bit more stretched out since they changed the schedules. So, yeah. But obviously losing McAdoo is tough for the system, but they will move on, and so will we, because special kind of got a couple specials this week, but the last special here is going to be talking about the draft pick signings, because At that deadline last week, Pirates officially signed 19 of their 21 picks by that deadline on Wednesday, including a $6.53 million overslot deal for 9th overall pick for Connor Griffin, as well as overslot signings for second-round pick Wyatt Sanford, $2.5 million, prep pitcher. Oh, no, prep shortstop, excuse me. And 5th rounder Will Taylor, $450,000. I think he was out of Clemson. I'm not positive on that. And 11th rounder Jacob Bimby, which was $180K. Slot for that was like $150. So they used their full available slot bonuses as well as the entire 5% overage allowable before losing draft picks. They were the only team to use their full 5% overage. They didn't even touch it last year. They had a late pick, I think it was like 17th round, that they were hoping that they set aside money to try to sign him, weren't able to sway him, whatever. The only ones they weren't able to sway this past draft class were 16th round pick Brian Curley, pitcher out of VCU, who had a firm commitment to transfer to Georgia for his junior year, and 20th round pick Taylor Penn, who was a prep pitcher, Gatorade Player of the Year out of Kentucky, and he had a strong commitment to Western Kentucky University. So it was tough signing him where he was picked overall.
I feel like, yeah, it was one of those where it was like, hey, we're just going to take him, and who knows?
Right.
It won't happen, but we're not.
Yeah, you could take a shot later on and see what happens on that. Didn't pan out, but I was seeing like some panic on Twitter, X, whatever, that like, oh man, this is a failure. They only signed 17 of the 21 picks. They're not going to, or it was before they even signed Griffin. Like, oh, they're not going to end up signing Griffin. And I'm like, you guys, he's going to get signed. It's very rare that a first round pick is not signed. And it's big news when it happens. You think back to like Kumar Rocker with the Mets a couple years ago. Who was the first overall pick? I always forget. No, Brady Aiken. Brady Aiken didn't sign. And then he went back to school, and then he has never made the major leagues. I think he was like a 19th overall pick the next year. Doesn't matter. Anyway, if a first round pick doesn't sign, it's big news, and it's very rarely going to happen. They typically have some kind of a deal as they're making these kinds of discussions where it's like, okay, we're going to get you the biggest piece of the pie we can. We just got to settle these other guys first.
Right.
So seems like a cool dude. Obviously talked to Andrew Destin about him last week. And if you haven't already, check out Destin's article on him, because that was the character clause that you isn't like a necessary part of when you're looking at a player, but it's also something that is really appealing. He's got that character.
Some teams might make it a necessary thing.
Maybe the old school Yankees. I don't know. They had some weird ones. I mean, it's a win for me. I think I love a lot of the reports I'm hearing about his stuff. Like his swing, his hit tool was the only thing that they were like, okay, it's not a great grade. It's above average, but it's not like elite. But they're like, but it's probably fixable. It's like, oh, okay. So he's going to be probably pretty good. So we'll see. Got a couple years. Kid's only 18. But all the critical ones did sign. Loaded draft class. That's a lot of talent that they're filling in there, and whom I'm sure we're going to be talking about for years to come, especially when we do our top 30 in the spring. Yeah, where's the camera? There it is.
Nope, not me.
Back at it. All right. Well, Pirates are going to be back at it. They got the day off Monday, but then we got West Coast teams that we're facing 3-game series at home against the Padres before heading out to LA for a 3-game weekend series against the Dodgers. I mean, we always play well against Dodgers, so maybe that's a good thing. For the Padres series, the starters aren't really official for their side. TBD for the Tuesday game. Looks like it's going to be Bailey Falter going in game 1. Dylan Cease, I believe, is scheduled to go for game 2 against Marco Gonzalez. And then Randy Vasquez, whom again, first time I'm hearing about this name, is going to project to start game 3 against Luis Ortiz. Padres, tough team. They made some pretty critical improvements to their bullpen with some trades. But I mean, they don't have Tatis back. Hopefully, he's not coming back yet. Now I got to check. But your thoughts on that series?
Like you said, we've been talking about it for a few weeks now about how every one of these series is going to be against very good teams. If Tatis is not in the lineup, that definitely helps.
He has no timetable on his return for his femur injury. I don't even know what it is. But yeah, he's been out since late June. It was a stress reaction in his right femur, his leg. It's in his leg. His leg.
I'm aware of where a femur is.
Okay. I mean, Cease is tough.
Cease is going to give up a hit to the very first batter.
I like.
You heard it here first, folks.
All right, hit from the very first bat. Is it going to be a home run? Is it going to be like first pitch home run from Kutch?
It's going to be a hit. Just
why
do you have to make it like so much bigger than what it has to be?
Because I want to. Because I need to. We need to make it bigger. Like the Falter matchup's the only one where I'm like, Gonzalez, it can be shaky, but I think they've shown that they're going to pull a quick hook with him. If he goes 4 innings and gives up 2 runs, it's like, okay, fine. Let's go to the bullpen. Let's figure this out. Let's get some long relief in there. I don't know who the long reliever is right now, but get someone in. Hopefully, be able to do well there. You always got to predict that we're going to take 2 of 3 because you got to always hope that we're going to take 2 of 3 at least.
Basically,
sweeps are tough. Series wins are always doable. Hopefully. But then we head to LA. Dodgers matchups are Mitch Keller versus Jack Flaherty, who they recently acquired from Detroit. Paul Skeens versus River Ryan, who is one of their top prospects and has jumped into the rotation with all their injuries. And then Marco Gonzalez against, that would be Bailey Falter. Bailey Falter against Tyler Glasnow. Ooh, I don't like that last matchup.
But have the Pirates faced Glasnow since he left the organization?
They did. They faced him back in May when the Dodgers came to visit. That was the first time he had faced them.
Okay.
I mean, I could look up the stats. You go ahead and give me your thoughts on this matchup.
Another real tough lineup, but Mookie's out, right?
I think Mookie's still out. Yeah.
Mookie's still out. Is Muncy, he's still out? Or is he back now?
Muncy's still out. I don't know if he's going to come back yet.
Muncy always seems to hammer the Pirates.
That's right.
You're going to have... Go
ahead. Glasnow pitched the first game, and that was the Glasnow-Jones matchup, where Glasnow gave up 1 run in 6 innings, and Jones gave up 0 runs in 6 innings.
Yeah.
So Jones won't be back in time for that series. He's thrown a bullpen. He's hopefully going to be going on a rehab soon, 1 to 2 starts, and then maybe rejoin the team. I don't know, by the Mariners series, possibly. We'll see.
We will see.
I mean, that's tough with the Dodgers. It's tough with the Padres too. This is not a fun part of the schedule. You look at all these other teams getting to face like
the White Sox.
I was gonna say I know we already got to face the White Sox and we swept them, but like anybody who's playing the White Sox now is like, all right, cool. These guys.
Everyone has been sweeping the White Sox. Yeah, they lost like 20 straight games.
But we started it. Nobody swept the White Sox in this current run before we did. Yeah, that's going to be a tough series. Again, Keller versus Flaherty. I mean, Keller and Skeens. I think you got to feel pretty good. Not great, but pretty good that they can do well, can get you a win. Keller looked really good before he was taken out. I think that rain delay kind of kneecapped us for today's game.
Yeah.
Because Keller could have gone probably 6. He was just in cruise control. And Jordan Montgomery was doing terrible, so for the Diamondbacks. That's frustrating, but baseball gods hate us. Yeah. Hopefully we do well this week. Again, it's not every loss is the end of the world. It's not the season is over. I know right now we're a couple games back in the wild card hunt, and let's see, we're still 6 games back of Milwaukee for the division. And I'm not saying the division is super in play, but like we're not completely out of it. You go on a stretch of games like we did right before the All-Star break, or you win a couple series against teams like the Padres, and you're right back in it. Are we going to do it? We'll see. I mean, we'll be talking about it next week either way. But that wraps it up for this week's episode of the 412 Double Play. Follow me on X at 412 Double Play. Follow Ed at Ed_Wassel. Check out SteelCity.com for all your news and updates about Pirates from some of your favorite Pirates podcasters. Link is always in the description. Follow the show on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever else podcasts are found. Thank you for joining us this week, and let's go Bucks.
Let's go Bucks.
Take it, Sawyer.
Lady Jolly Roger, dude.
Thank you.